Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 49 of Halfway Through the Heat, the world's most important, most prominent, most potent trans-Pacific wrestling podcast, coming to you from the eastern United States, specifically Connecticut. I'm Tom, and with me in beautiful Kawasaki City, Japan, is my co-host Joe. Joe, how are you?
I am great.
That's excellent, and we have a great show for everyone tonight. We've got some news about our favorite conqueror, Brock Lesnar. We've got some book news from the WWE. Well, actually, the ex-WWE. We'll talk about that. We are going to talk about the hot issue of racism and should it be used as an angle. Got a lot of TNA news. We want to talk about the final deletion, which is perhaps our era's greatest work of art. We're going to talk about our big 50th podcast special, which is going to be live next week. So if you only hear the beginning of the show, we're just going to say that next week we're going to be live. We're going to be watching and reacting live to the brand split draft on Google Hangout. We'll have details before then, but that's what's going to happen. We'll talk about it later in the show, but if for some reason, like if you're listening to this and then like your house catches on fire or something, I just want you to know that part.
Well, all right. In the meantime, I've got someone at my door. So, Tom,
Woo!
tell us about your most positive thing about Raw, and I'll come back and pretend like I listened to it.
Okay, this is good because I'm glad this is happening because I think we have the same positive thing about Raw. So this way it'll look like Joe is copying me as opposed to the other way around. My positive thing about Raw this week was the Kevin Owens Cesaro match, which is really fantastic. Just a good match all around. And one of the things that I like about the match, and I like about how they've handled Kevin Owens in general, is that shockingly, they have kept the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn feud, which of course went on for years and years and years in the Indies, and like they haven't screwed it up. They have not yet swerved away from it. They're actually like letting it breathe and letting it build, and I couldn't be happier because I was convinced they were going to do something to blow it, which is maybe unfair. They often know what they're doing, but
That's not true.
with indie guys, no, that's not true. So you weren't brutally murdered by the person who came to your door. That's good.
No, I just got a package. It was expected.
Was it a Matt Hardy dilapidated boat T-shirt?
It was not, but it was a xylophone.
It's an extraordinary xylophone. All right, so I did my positive thing about Raw. What's your positive thing about Raw?
So your positive thing was Owens Cesaro.
Yep.
That's unfortunate because that's mine also.
Yeah. See now it looks like you're copying me.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I could say it was totally Zack Ryder being on TV, huh? Or Breezango winning, or um, fuck, I got nothing.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot this week. It was this was maybe the first like real like kind of bad Raw since WrestleMania, which is really impressive when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of meh. It wasn't so. Oh, it wasn't a
It wasn't
horror. Yeah, it
horrible.
wasn't horrible. There was nothing like extremely standout bad, but it was just kind of like, whatever. And it was kind of sad that um, the Darren Young thing. I mean, he won, but like, it was just stupid. Like they didn't do anything. Like, where was all the advice that Bob Backlund gave him? He didn't use any of it.
I know.
Where was Bob Backlund?
Where was Bob Backlund? And like I can't at this point. I just don't care about the commissioners, general man, whatever the hell that like it. The the McMahon family has been good about contributing to the drama instead of trying to make the drama about them. But I like I just have a limited amount of energy to devote to the McMahon family and their weird dramas. Stephanie's the only one I actually care about as a character. So like that whole thing, I just didn't. I would have been happy with the press release. Would have been happy with them saying, like, Michael Cole reading on the air. All right, they're both gonna run SmackDown and Raw, but they're gonna appoint general managers or what? I mean, just this. I don't care.
I don't care either. I mean, it might be interesting though. I mean, who the general managers are might be interesting. What if Eric Bischoff comes back?
I I guess.
What if Hulk Hogan is one of them?
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Bischoff, not interesting. Hogan, now you're talking.
That would be amazing.
That seems unlikely.
That seems incredibly unlikely, but it would be awesome.
I've heard Daniel Bryan as a rumor.
That's actually makes sense because like I'm sure they're looking for some way to use him.
Yeah, I'm sure they're looking for some way to use him. Although, honestly, like I don't know if that is the best role for him. Like he's a wrestler, and the commissioner persona. I mean, we're 20 years into the like evil authority figure thing, and before the evil authority figure, remember the commissioners like Jack Tunney
Yes.
and Wally Carbo, like they weren't evil, but they were incompetent. Like they were, they were always trying to do the right thing, but they'd always like screw up, and they'd always get like, the Bobby Heenan would put one over on Jack Tunney, and then Tunney would like angrily reverse the results of a match or something. Like I don't see Daniel Bryan doing well as like the dumb guy who means well, and I really don't see him in the role of like the villain.
That's true. But he could be the face commissioner, like how.
It's true he could, yeah, like Mick Foley.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. It could work.
He could reinvent the role, that's for sure. I'd be happier to see him than a lot of people, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, if they brought back Crime Time as the commissioners, then
that, that would make me very happy. Very surprised, but very happy. um, yeah, I guess who would you like to see as commissioners? Because presumably they'll have like kind of a prominent on-screen role.
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. Uh, I mean, the obvious choice for me is Paul Heyman.
Yeah, he's not going to do it though.
He's not going to do it.
Paul Heyman would be a delightful choice. Like that would be great, but I just think he's just not into that. I don't know what Paul Heyman's doing for like a job, but
Yeah, he's just like hanging out with Brock Lesnar professionally.
yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what he does because
No, I don't either. He just did a one-man show in England, and his guest was Will Ospreay, and Heyman offered Ospreay an Evolve contract, and said that the Evolve contract would not interfere with his New Japan contract, which
that doesn't seem
which I
likely.
imagine doesn't seem likely. I don't know if the whole thing is a work or something, but Evolve has a relationship with WWE, and obviously Paul Heyman has a relation. He works for WWE, so I don't know. Like that to me is just a weird. It's just such an overt expression of interest that you don't expect from the WWE camp and an indie guy. No word on whether or not Will Ospreay like took the bait or anything, or signed it, or did anything, but I thought that was noteworthy. Maybe that's what Paul Heyman's doing for WWE. His job is like a roving talent ambassador.
That could be.
But if we can't get Paul Heyman to be commissioner or Hulk Hogan, I would like to see. I don't know. Not Flair. Anyone but Flair. Not Foley either. Although I could see them bringing Foley back. He's always kind of lurking around.
Yeah, well, he's got that show also on the network,
That's right.
so he's too busy.
You know
It
what?
could be Edge or
Could
Christian.
be Edge. I mean, ideally it's Jim Cornette, but that seems pretty unlikely.
That would be so awesome.
That would be amazing.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't it? Like what I wouldn't give to see Jim Cornette brought in that role.
Yeah, Jim Cornette
Hard-
back on WWE TV. He could come. He could do his own like Jim Cornette shoots like he used to do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah,
Seems unlikely, but that's one of my dream ones. Him and Paul Heyman, one on Raw, one on SmackDown. That would be incredible.
yeah. Wow, jeez. J-
But
oh,
failing that, Swoggle and Big Show.
yeah, Big Show. He's great on the mic.
Gotta find a role for Big Show. Can't leave him off TV.
Well, he was back on TV recently, right? He was
He
in that
was.
like 4th of July throwaway battle royal thing.
Yeah, which is that's an all right role for him at this point, like throwaway battle royal.
It wasn't a battle royal. It was like that 20 on
No, it was
20
yeah
match or
the
whatever.
team, the tag team. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
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 American.
Americans
Yeah,
versus non-Americans.
it's so stupid. I love that they still do that stupid. Like it's like the non-Americans, like guys from like Canada. It's
Like
like
half the team was from Canada, and then it was like Cesaro and
yeah, Switzerland.
Sheamus
Another one of our yes, yeah, Switzerland and like Ireland, like more of our mortal enemies.
and like Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah,
All of our mortal enemies: Mexico,
that's right.
Canada, Ireland, Switzerland.
Switzerland. They should have done a gimmick where uh Cesaro was hiding Nazi gold. Only me? Just me? Okay, all right, I can take that. It would have been different. Um, all right, so that was Raw. It was all right. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it was just kind of eh.
But we have news. We should talk about the
We
news.
should, I guess. Guess we should talk about the news. Whatever.
The first news thing I want to talk about is because neither one of did you watch UFC
Of
200?
course not.
I didn't either. I didn't either. But I was excited to wake up and see that Bork Lesnar, the Beast Bork Lesnar, won his fight against a Samoan guy named Mark Hunt, and just because it would have been bad for WWE and for Lesnar himself if he had lost, because then he would have been much less like it'd been hard to present him as a beast, you know?
8 second knockout or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Bart Gunn getting knocked out by Butterbean.
So like, yeah, I didn't watch it, but from the description, it sounded like he pretty much dominated for 3 rounds and just like won by decision.
Yeah, and a lot of people because Mark Hunt, I guess, is a top 10 ranked fighter in UFC, and a lot of people were thinking that Hunt was going to win, and so sort of a surprise too, which is good because that gives Lesnar a lot of momentum coming into SummerSlam.
Now Lesnar is a top 10 heavyweight um, ranked guy. Apparently, he's ranked number 8 now.
That's right. I guess the question is, does he keep fighting in UFC? Which seems suicidal, but I don't know. Maybe.
He might, I guess. I
However,
don't know.
for our purposes, the big question is, does he? So what do they do with him in WWE? They've got a lot of mainstream interest. He's now like won his first MMA fight in many years. He's this, legit monster and everything, and so it seems like they could make a lot of money with him. But what do they do with him?
It's a good question. Who knows?
I thought the absolute best use they had of him in his second run in WWE recently was when he came out and just destroyed John Cena, and like he was just for that month until Night of Champions, he was just it was like that was how you use Brock Lesnar. He's this unstoppable monster, and I don't know. They don't seem like they know what to do with him.
They should use him like they use Andre.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Kind of a chaotic neutral Andre.
Yeah, that would make sense at least. I mean, because the thing with Andre was that he would just come out and destroy people. I
Right.
mean, he was undefeated forever. Like he never lost because
Well, although that was they fudged
yeah,
that.
no,
It's
I
like
mean in WWE though, like
yeah, yeah,
on TV, like when did he lose?
right.
He lost to Hogan. I mean, he lost. It's not like he never lost. It's just like he didn't. He wasn't losing on TV on WWE TV.
Right.
So like, you never saw him lose, and he'd come out, and Bobby Heenan would be there hyping him up as like the eighth wonder of the world or whatever, and
That's right.
and he'd be, and like, when there was like how they made Andre losing at WrestleMania 3 such a big thing was that like
Right.
it just it was the point where like nobody thought Andre was going to lose.
Yeah, and that whole like no one has ever body slammed him thing, which worked in the pre-internet era because
Yeah.
people couldn't just go online and find pictures of like Harley Race slamming Andre. But yeah, they built it up really well. They could do something like that with Lesnar. They just don't seem to know what to do with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, they should do something like that, where like they just have him destroy everybody, and then like eventually you have someone who is like, you know, the champion that people want to see beat him, whoever that is. I
Yeah,
don't know who it could be. It's definitely not Dean Ambrose.
because they could make a lot of money and get casual fans, interested in Lesnar. It's just if they do it right. And the rumors that they're gonna have him go against Randy Orton at SummerSlam, probably not the way to do it, right?
Yeah, that's not exactly a that's not a money match.
No, people. I mean, like I don't know who's excited to see that. And also, like Orton's gonna lose. Is that the way to bring him back? To just immediately have him get just thrown around by Lesnar?
Probably not, but whatever. I guess I guess like after being out for like a year, his body's all healed up, so they just want to damage it again.
I know. Yeah.
Can't have you be too healthy.
And to have him come back and like, I mean, he's just gonna job. I mean, there's no way he's gonna win, and it's not even gonna be. No one is gonna go into that thinking, man, I wonder if Orton's gonna win here.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, would you ever have picked Randy Orton as the guy who's going to beat Brock Lesnar?
No,
No.
no, especially not right after Lesnar wins his big high-profile UFC fight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna beat whoever, but at least with Cena or something, you'd wonder like, oh man, I wonder if like, are they gonna, LOL Cena wins thing, or what? At least there'd be some suspense with Orton. You're just like, okay, I guess they're feeding Orton to Lesnar for some reason.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's pretty much what's happening.
Um, so other news, WWE related, although not WWE, former WWE. We learned today that AJ Lee, uh, was now April Brooks, Mrs. CM Punk, that she's written an autobiography, and it's called "Crazy Is My Superpower: How I Triumphed by Breaking Bones, Breaking Hearts, and Breaking the Rules." Penguin is putting it out in April of 2017. So that's a big. I mean, Penguin is doesn't get any bigger than that. Penguin Random House, I should say. And so here's the some promotional copy, which actually sort of intrigued me a little bit. A literary memoir chronicling her unlikely rise from 100-pound nerd growing up in extreme poverty and enduring years of abuse to international sex symbol and professional wrestling champion who fought against stereotypes, forced the men in her industry to view her with respect, and inspired a huge fan base of over 2 million Twitter followers with her fierce independent streak. So I guess one of the things that interests me about this is, since this is not a WWE project, WWE puts out a lot of autobiographies by people. And since this is not one of those, and since she's not exactly on good terms with WWE, not like horrible terms, but not good ones, like I'm curious to see if this will finally be a truly warts and all account of the WWE from a very prominent former WWE wrestler.
Could be. That would be interesting. Um, it it seems like it would have like a little less glowing positivity for the WWE at least.
You'd think. And not like I think she has like horrible things to reveal about the WWE. I mean, she might. But just like in terms of being honest about sort of like what the atmosphere is like backstage, what the creative process is like, how they make decisions. Like this is a lot of stuff that obviously when you're reading the official Daniel Bryan biography or whatever, they're not going to put that in there.
Yeah.
But she's totally free to speak her mind.
Yeah, I think and then she's also got CM Punk in her ear, so
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and
What do you
I
think
mean,
there'll be a chapter about her wedding?
I know, yeah, where like yeah, when he got fired by FedEx on his wedding day.
Yeah.
That might come up. One would think. Um, and it sounds like she had kind of a like a tough life before becoming a wrestler. She's got a really interesting story. So that could be interesting. I wonder if WWE is sort of nervous about it.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, they've endured worse.
Yeah, I mean, do you think AJ Lee has some like mind blowing revelations that she's going to give?
No, but I bet she gets mainstream press attention. And if she says bad stuff about WWE, they're going to have to do something.
Well, I guess that's true. Well, like I think like the kinds of bad stuff she'd have to say would be like things like they made me work with a concussion.
Right, or she could talk about like if there are, again, this is pure speculation on my part, but why not? Stuff about like the way women are treated, or like especially because when she was there, that was before the whole Divas Revolution thing, and she was frustrated at the time that there wasn't like it was hard to actually get women's wrestling matches. That's the kind of thing like mainstream press is always interested in like critiques like that of WWE, like if black people aren't treated as well, if women aren't treated as well, that kind of thing. That always goes really far in the mainstream media. Not, I mean, like as perhaps it should. I'm not passing a negative judgment on that. I'm just saying that that's the kind of thing WWE does not want to come out. That and the concussion stuff too. They would hate that. But it'd be interesting to see if in fact if it's not nasty towards WWE. Who knows if that's leaving the door open for a return? Because she's really young. She's not even 30, and is still very well known, very famous. So at least in the wrestling world. So I could see her because the WWE is the only game in town really. Um, and also, Vince never holds grudges against people he can make money with, except Randy Savage. Um,
I wonder what the story behind that with Savage. Like, um, there has to be an actual reason, but
well, the
yeah, I
rumor.
know the rumor, but is how true is it? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah. For whatever it's worth, Jim Ross and other people who would know say that's not true. So, I mean, and maybe it wasn't Vince. Maybe it was Savage. Who knows?
That could be true.
Um. So, all right. Crazy is my superpower, which is playing into that whole WWE women are crazy stereotype. But anyway, uh, last piece of news this week. This was on Pro Wrestling Sheet, and I wanted to talk about it because it is ripped from today's headlines.
Wow, it's like we're on an episode of Law and Order.
It is like we're on an episode of Law and Order. So, folks, unless you've been living under a rock or you haven't had internet access under your rock, it's not a Wi-Fi enabled rock. You probably know about the racial tensions in the United States. Last week, there was a video shootings of two black men by police officers, one in Minnesota, one in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, followed by a shocking incident in Dallas, Texas, where five police officers were killed by a sniper. It was a Army veteran who was African American who was apparently doing this to get some kind of revenge for the black people who have been killed by police officers. And all this goes around the slogan "Black Lives Matter," which has taken on a life of its own and sort of helped foment a movement here in the U.S. So if you're worried about where I'm going with this, that's good. This story comes to us from Ryan Satin at Pro Wrestling Sheet, which is always worth checking out. He has a video of it, so you can go and see it if you want. There's an indie promotion in St. Louis called MMWA Wrestling. That's a mouthful. And I guess last Saturday they had a match between two guys, Brandon Espinoza and Mike Outlaw. Mike Outlaw is black. Brandon Espinoza is not. And there was some jaw jacking during the match, in which Espinoza, who was working heel, said "Black lives don't matter," and crowd, is bothered by this. Afterwards, both Mike Outlaw and Espinoza told Ryan Satin that they had planned it in advance. Espinoza actually apologized for it, and Satin was pretty brutal about it, saying it was stupidity and everything. You shouldn't do this, and blah blah blah. So what I want to know is, like, pro wrestling has a long history of like using things from current events. We just kind of talked about it actually. The July 4th, like Americans versus the world thing in the 80s. The easiest way to get heat was to be Russian or pretend to be Russian.
Oh yeah, just
And,
if you were a Russian dude, you were in trouble.
Yeah, and they had a terrorist character in both TNA and WWE in the 2000s, and like I mean, Crime Time is itself. We've talked about them many
And
times. I feel
don't
like,
get us started on the Sergeant Slaughter heel turn in the early '90s.
oh man, I feel like Crime Time they've become the new Jeep Swenson. They always come up.
Yeah, that's true, but only because they were recently mentioned as possibly coming back, so they're on our mind.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're always Crime Time's always on our mind, I guess. Um, but like, so my question is, I honestly think Ryan Satin's overreacting a little bit.
I would agree. Like I think that kind of thing is like if you're gonna say it shouldn't be used, like the reason it shouldn't be used is because it's just kind of cheap heat.
Yeah,
Like that's like the only reason I can think of like why you wouldn't use it. Oh no, this guy who's supposed to be despicable said something despicable. Like
right.
okay, like should I be horribly offended by that? Probably not. It's part of a show.
Yeah, like I don't. I mean, if the crowd was chanting it, I would be concerned.
Yeah, oh yeah, Jesus, I would be I would be concerned then. But like if a character who's supposed to be an asshole says something that's
Right.
assholish, you shouldn't be offended by that. Um
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point. He's trying to get you to dislike him, and he says Black lives don't matter to a black guy, and the crowd boos him. I mean, like as far as I'm concerned, and the black wrestler Mike Outlaw, said that they talked about beforehand, and like because he's a wrestler, he gets it. He wants people to want him to beat the bad guy up, and if they dislike the bad guy, well, then they're going to want some guy to beat him up.
yeah, I mean, geez. If he started hitting him right after that line, it would be it's perfect wrestling. It's exactly what you'd
Yeah,
expect actually.
and like yeah, I mean, I thought about this since reading the story, and like Ryan Satin he's a super political dude, and he's very pro Hillary, which what nobody's perfect. Um, and I think like and he's part of that pro wrestling guerrilla thing where it's sort of like hipsters, and I my concern because we've talked a lot about the wrestling audience, and it's a blue collar audience in the United States for the most part. And we've talked about how one thing that could help wrestling is if it got more people who were not blue collar, who were sort of middle class or upper middle class or whatever, like a soccer audience. And then stuff like this kind of gives me pause because those people kind of, in a fundamental way, like sort of don't get. It's not that they don't get wrestling; it's that they can't put aside their middle class hangups while they're watching wrestling. So like, if you're watching a bad guy, and like again, like saying like Black Lives don't matter, it's a shitty thing for a heel to say, but like, man, there have been far more racist things in wrestling.
Oh yeah, geez. But also, like, think about it this way: if you have, if you're watching a TV show and there's a character who's an asshole, who's a racist, like, you're not supposed to like that character. It's
Right.
not like that this guy saying that in the wrestling show paints wrestling as racist. It means that guy is a heel. He's an asshole. You're supposed to want to see him get beat up. I mean, if he's saying something racist and you want to see him get beat up, that says more good things about you than bad things.
Right.
Like
And that, I mean,
like you said, if the crowd also chanted "Black Lives Don't Matter," that would be fucked up. That
yes.
would be something to be a little bit outraged about. But like, um, that's like the kind of thing where like if somebody says it and then you want to see them get beat up, that's a fucking normal reaction.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I think his headline was like, something like wrestling gets set back 40 years. It's like, I don't, I mean, to me, it's okay. Like stuff that's in the news and, stuff that people are really touchy about, it's perfect material for wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of an overreaction.
Like, one of my favorite wrestling moments from this year was, at Beyond Wrestling, and it was like during I guess it was probably February, and Ethan Page came out and he was a heel, and he was insulting us, and he's like, because he's from Canada, and he was insulting Americans for being dumb, which is a fair point, and he's like, we should build a wall to keep you out. He's, what am I saying? You're probably all a bunch of Donald Trump voters. And the crowd, this is one of my favorite Beyond Wrestling moments. The crowd spontaneously started chanting Bernie Sanders. And like, because like you just again, nobody is like, oh, I can't believe he's making light of a serious issue like Donald Trump. It's like it's just that's what people say when they want to get a reaction from the crowd, which is the whole point of, especially if you're a heel, like you want to come in and quickly get people to dislike you. And sometimes that means just getting on the mic and saying like this town's a shithole and people boo, and then sometimes it means like insulting your opponent in a way people are gonna be like, hey, that's not fair.
Yeah, that's wrestling. That's that's why we watch it.
Yeah, and I worry a little bit that like if people who are kind of like hipster people, like they just kind of don't, they're not going to be able to like let go of their weird
They're
politically
they're a
correct.
little too woke for wrestling.
They are too woke. That's the thing. Wrestling is not woke. Wrestling, folks, is not. It is never going to be woke. And you're really in there with the hoi polloi, you know. And they don't give a shit about that kind of middle class sensitivity stuff. They just want to see a good wrestling match. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to see like kind of a touchy feely SJW wrestling match.
That would be awesome.
That would be great.
Oh! You didn't mean like SJW is getting beat up in a wrestling match, did you?
See, if you had like a heel faction called like the SJWs and they were trying to like make wrestling kind of like a safe space, I would love that.
Yeah, see, that would be awesome. That's I would be excited for that. Of course, they'd be a heel faction.
Yeah, they would be great.
Essentially that was the gimmick for Right to Censor.
There would be an updated right to censor. They'd be the SJWs, the social justice wrestlers.
Oh shit! It already works.
It does. I mean, some indie promoter, please take this idea and run with it because I would wear the T-shirt. I would be so into that, and I would come to see them get their asses kicked. I would love it. I would buy a ticket to see the SJWs get beat up by like the Hit Squad or somebody, or
Prime time.
And they would do like because they'd be so super woke. They'd be like they would do things that were inadvertently racist, like they wouldn't allow any people of color into the SJWs because they wouldn't want to marginalize them.
It's perfect.
I'm really into this idea. But yeah, I just don't like. I don't think it's a big deal when people do that. Again, so like David Starr, who's a wrestler and who wrestles a lot in Combat Zone, he's Jewish, and like he's been complaining that there's a section of fans at CZW that like throw pennies at him and call him like a cheap Jew and stuff. That's a problem. Like that's fucked up. But if he's wrestling a guy who does that and the guy's the villain, like fine. They both know what's going to happen. Like, and then like people get on David's, I guess, except for the anti-Semites in the crowd, people get on David Starr's side and they want to see, like, I think it's really important to see, like, is it the performer who's doing it as part of the performance or is it just some Yahoo in the crowd? The totally different situations.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it's like if it's blatant racism from the crowd, it's not good. If it's
No,
blatant
that's a
racism
problem.
from the performers and you want to see them get beat up, that's good. It's good. I
Yeah,
mean, it's good in the sense that like it's good on two fronts. It's good because they're getting their heat, but also it's good because it's showing that you're not a racist.
that's right. Yeah, you have the proper reaction to racism, which is that you want to see the racist get his comeuppance.
Yeah, I mean that's that seems like an obvious point, but I guess it's not really. I think a lot of people lose that kind of thing. Like there's lots of different things. I mean, not just wrestling, but like like TV shows will have a racist character, and people will be like, "That show's racist." Like
Yes.
it's no, it's the character, and if you don't like that character, you're normal.
Yeah.
Like that's the reaction you should have. Like that.
I was yeah, I was for some reason I was reading today about Lord Horror. Do you remember this? This was a comic in the late 80s and early 90s in Britain. And it got banned. Like literally it got banned in Britain and the guy who did it, the writer, like went to jail for like 4 months. And it was about like an alternate reality where the Nazis won World War II and it was super hyper violent and like all the characters in it were like anti-Semites and they like there was this incredible violence against Jewish people. And like that's why he went to prison. But like the the point is the characters were villains. Like he wasn't advocating it. Like it's weird that sometimes people, like you just said, like sometimes there's like a movie or a TV show and there's a racist character and people flip out and you're like, but you understand they're bad guys in the show and like it's okay for bad guys to do, like, do you want bad guys who for some reason will not tolerate intolerance.
Yeah, it doesn't make a good bad guy if you don't want to hate him.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, you can do ambiguous bad guys and stuff, like conflicted motives and stuff. But like, if it's okay to have a racist villain, like, yeah, I just don't understand.
You're not woke enough, Tom.
I am not. No, that's very true. I'm not woke enough at all. But I really do want to see a heel faction called the SJWs.
That would be perfect.
Um,
So I guess we should move on to the real topic of the week. The only
yes,
topic anybody should be talking about.
yes.
The final deletion. Brother Nero!
It's an extraordinary xylophone. Yeah, so the final deletion, which we talked about last week, because as we recorded last week, we were recording right before the final deletion, and we were like, well, what's going to happen? Is it gonna live up to the billing? And I think it's safe to say it surpassed the hype.
It's so amazing because, like, we got previews of it. We knew stuff that was going to be in it, but
Yep.
we couldn't possibly have prepared ourselves for how amazing it was.
No.
It was so good, and it's the kind of thing that's I'm going to be quoting for the rest of my life. Like, there's never going to be a point where I'm not going to be able to say it was an extraordinary xylophone.
It's a dilapidated boat. Yeah. I mean, I was like deleting pictures out of my phone, and every time I hit, the trash, I just heard broken Matt Hardy's voice in my head. Delete, delete, delete.
So good.
It's if you go to the TNA YouTube channel, they have like a director's cut. It's like 20 minutes long of the whole thing. It's definitely worth seeing. They should put out everything that led up to it and the final deletion and extras on a DVD because I would buy it.
I would buy that right away.
I mean, it's so good. I mean, I was intrigued by the reaction because it also, by the way, the final deletion episode was the highest rated TNA since leaving Spike. So obviously the hype worked. A lot of people tuned in. They had a pretty good show leading up to it. Hopefully people will continue to tune in. And a lot of people who don't really watch wrestling or certainly don't watch TNA like were curious and checked it out. And reaction was mostly positive, I would say, but there were some people who absolutely hated it. And I kind of think those people just didn't get into the spirit of it.
Yeah, I could see people absolutely hating it if they were like, I could see Jim Cornette really hating it.
Oh my God, yeah, like Vader, like I mean, just like the kind of people who like just don't. But even so, I'll say this: I have a friend, he's also your friend, who is a former wrestler, and he really kind of hates like the Ricochet, Will Ospreay stuff. He just likes like super. Like Japanese wrestling is his favorite. And he likes like really stiff matches, but he loved the final deletion. I think if you really like just kind of let yourself go and go with the spirit of it, it's hard not to love it.
Yeah, if you just take it as what it's supposed to be, this kind of like over the top craziness, you you can't not love it. It's so good.
Yeah. And I will say two things too. One, I was really impressed that Matt Hardy has been able to reinvent himself so successfully. Because he was playing essentially the same character for 20 years before this.
Yeah, it's really weird because like there was never a point where I was like a fan of the Hardy Boys
Yep.
until now.
And yeah, now I'm a huge fan, especially of Matt Hardy. And like also you have to follow him on Twitter because his tweets in character, and that's like a dangerous like a lot of times wrestlers who tweet in character, I'm like, oh, this is corny. He's so over the top. It's brilliant.
Oh man, there's nothing about the broken Matt Hardy character that's bad, and like from his like bizarre accent that like kind of goes between historical British and like some kind of like Mexican warlord or something.
That's
I don't know
amazing.
what it is, but it's insane. And then like it's his crazy reactions to things, the extraordinary xylophone. Um, and then like just everything, all of the craziness. He has a fleet of of drones.
Of drones that like depict holograms of his face, and then his brother hits them with a guitar. Let's also give credit where it's due. Jeff Hardy does a very good job in the straight man role.
Yeah, it's really weird that like you know because obviously out of the Hardy Boys in their previous persona, like Jeff Hardy is the standout.
Yes, he's the star. Matt Hardy is the Marty Jannetty,
Yeah,
100%.
but like looking at this, you just think like, have I been to underestimating Matt Hardy all these years?
Yeah.
Because like,
Yeah, have I underestimated Matt Hardy for 20 years? I will say too that or Tape Machine said this, and I think it's a great point. The whole thing, it's like it's so campy, it's so over the top, but it works because A, they're 100% committed to it, and B, like underneath all the wackiness, there's like a kernel of believable emotion in the sense that, as we just said, Matt Hardy has always been the second fiddle. And this whole story arc, the whole like final deletion story arc, is he's finally snapped. After all these years of being Marty Jannetty in this team, he's finally lost his mind, and all he cares about is like destroying his brother. That's the only thing that's going to get him to like feel at peace. It's like he can't compete with his brother, so he's just going to ruin his brother's career. Like that's like a good core of raw emotion to build a story around. Like it's believable. Like these guys have been their careers have been linked together for forever, and finally you're just like, you know what? I am sick of being the afterthought. I want to do something that makes me the star player.
yeah, it was so good. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous in so many ways. Like,
Oh god, it's absurd.
there's like, it gets, and it starts out ridiculous, and it just cranks it up from there. Like, it never gets less ridiculous from the start. And like, you I could see people looking at it and being just like, "What the hell am I watching? What is this?" But like, it's so compelling that you're just like, I can't look away. I just want to see more and more of this. Wish it would never end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like we had said last week, we're like, well, if this works, the answer is not to like do Final Deletion 2. Then no, the answer is to do like Final Deletion 2 through 10. I just want I keep I'm not going to get tired of this anytime soon.
Yeah, Jesus. I don't know who else they could do another Final Deletion thing with, but keep it up.
I, I want to see like Broken Matt Hardy. Like I honestly just want to see him like interact with people. Like I want to see a reality like where he's just like wearing his like ridiculous robe and making weird faces, but like buying Funyuns in a gas station. I would love that.
Yeah, jeez,
Um,
man.
and the ultimate compliment to the Final Deletion was that WWE, which like does not even acknowledge TNA exists, but clearly copied the Final Deletion for Raw this week with the showdown at the Wyatt's compound with the New Day.
Yeah, yeah, man. And that was no Final Deletion.
No,
It's really rare that I can say like somebody copied TNA and did it worse.
yeah, I know. Like think about that. That WWE set out to imitate TNA and blew it. That's both of those things are amazing. That they would even try to imitate it,
That's like a
and then they
that's
would
like an
screw it up.
insane role reversal.
It is. Normally it's TNA that's like whatever WWE does, they're like, oh yeah, we can do it, and they just like fall, they just piss all over their shoes. But this time around, Final Deletion was flawless, and WWE's thing was so try hard.
Yeah, geez. The thing with the Wyatt family, and it's like I actually like those guys too, and
I do
I
too.
liked the way that it looked and everything, but like it doesn't have that emotion. That thing, there's no interest in it. There's no like reason why I should care that the New Day are going out to the Wyatt compound. And then like, what are you gonna do with the Wyatts? They're not gonna have like a fireworks gun and a dilapidated boat. They're
Right.
it's just gonna be like bog people running across a bog, and that's basically what it was. I mean, it was
That's kind of what it was. It didn't even really seem like a compound. It just seemed like a muddy field.
yeah. So like, um, I don't. It didn't have like the. I mean, it had that same kind of Final Deletion feel in the sense that like it was not in a wrestling ring and it was like outdoors with a bunch of weirdos, but like
Right.
it didn't have the soul.
No,
It didn't
that's a good way of putting
it
it.
didn't have like the thing that made Final Deletion great. It was lacking that X factor.
Yeah, the cage side seats right up. I think hit the nail on the head when they said that Final Deletion only worked because Matt and Jeff Hardy are actual crazy people, and that's 100%. Those guys are like weirdos, and they've been weird forever. And this is kind of their masterpiece. This is what their whole career has been building to. Whereas it like with Wyatt's and New Day, this just felt like an angle, like a sideshow.
Yeah, geez. Okay, I'm looking at the cage side seats thing for it now, and yeah, no, that what they're saying actually makes sense. I think, yeah. Oh yes, they said the same thing I just said. Big dudes who might attempt to charge into you at high speeds in a muddy field. That's it. They're bog people running across a bog. That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
That was essentially it, though. I mean, there wasn't like really any. There weren't a fleet of holograms. That's for sure.
No, no, there was no extraordinary xylophone. That's the thing too. Like Bray Wyatt, he's like an eccentric, strange character, but he's all serious. Like, and I think that's great. I don't want to see them try to make Bray Wyatt a comedy character. Whereas the thing about Broken Matt Hardy is it's mostly comedy, but you feel like beneath that there's like this streak of like lunacy where he could just do anything.
Yeah,
So it's like nervous laughter.
yeah, it's so good. That's like the thing with Broken Matt Hardy is that like he's just so good at that character, and it's like such a wacky character that like you don't know what to think about it. It's just like a perfectly fine reaction to Matt Hardy's character now is just like, what the hell is this? And I think like that's what he's going for.
I love it. I mean, who would have thought in 2016 we would be this excited about the Hardy Boys?
Yeah, not me, that's for sure.
Not not me at all. Um, and he's done it so well. He's become the star of it. I don't know where they go from here. To be honest, I don't know like what they do next. I'm sure Jeff Hardy is not going to remain deleted, but I don't know what happens. But I have to say, like TNA held my interest for weeks, and they built up interest in this, and they delivered. Like really, absolutely delivered more than I could have possibly hoped for from TNA. They delivered a fantastic, unforgettable, one of a kind wrestling event.
Absolutely. It's rare that you can say like TNA really delivered. They gave us exactly what we wanted, but they did it, and like in spades, like way more than they'd even needed to.
It's fantastic. But there's so that's almost enough, I think, to set the TNA Doomsday Clock back. However, there's some other TNA news this week, which is not so good.
Well, it could be good. You never know.
It could. Well, no, that's true. So Dave Meltzer, over at the Wrestling Observer, says that things with TNA has had cash problems for a while now. Dixie has been selling off chunks of the company to keep paying debts, and Dave Meltzer says it's looking like that is no longer sustainable. So the question is TNA really like fully and truly up for sale or what? Meltzer says he's told that the sale is closer than it has been in a while, but who knows what that means.
Yeah, that's like selling TNA to somebody that's not Dixie Carter would probably be a good idea.
Yes.
Like I don't think that selling TNA is actually like looks like a bad thing. Like TNA going out of business means like they're not running shows anymore. Selling TNA means somebody is going to buy it and try to make it work. Meaning like it'll probably continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean honestly the best thing that could happen for TNA, well, I guess depending on who buys it. But the best potential thing for TNA is Dixie is gone. Has nothing to do with it. And if that's what this is, then great. Although it's hard to see her letting go. She has weirdly held on to her role in TNA despite disaster after disaster, and I can't imagine her wanting to change that. But when Panda Energy started pulling out its money, that was a sign that something had to change, and sooner or later they're going to have to sell the company or go out of business.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that Smashing Pumpkins money can do until runs out of money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was one of the guys who bought a minority
Yeah, I
stake.
know.
Him and the Harris brothers.
That's the Smashing Pumpkins money totally infused TNA enough to get Final Deletion.
Yeah, I can't complain. Anything that comes up with the Final Deletion, they're doing something right. Uh, by the way, as we're talking about Final Deletion and the Wyatts and their sketch, um, the so on Monday night you may have seen during Raw a bunch of well, Matt Hardy and his wife Rebby Sky um, were tweeting. They were basically saying like this is obviously a takeoff on the Final Deletion. And of course Matt Hardy tweets in character and it's delightful. And I also love that Rebby Sky, like she's just kind of like this, it's like this hood character, this around the way girl, like does not change at all for the Final Deletion thing, and she's just like, it's just everything about it is amazing. But so they were kind of basically talking shit about WWE. Bray Wyatt has responded.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, Bray Wyatt tonight, just right before Impact went on the air, Bray Wyatt tweeted, "Love me or hate me, I am the single most creative thing this industry has seen this century. Constantly imitated, but there is only one me." And then he followed that up by saying, "Lest we forget, without Bray Wyatt, perhaps no one would have been broken in the first place. Go ahead, lie, and say it isn't true."
Oh,
Mm.
strike back.
Shots fired, as they say.
Hmm.
Um, but I honestly like the whole Final Deletion thing to me. I honestly I didn't think of Bray Wyatt as their inspiration. I just thought it was like weird. Like honestly, the whole thing is more Shakespearean to me, but not like I don't think the Hardys have ever read Shakespeare. I think they just have ideas about Shakespeare from like cereal commercials or something, and like Matt Hardy's like this is what Hamlet is. you know, he's this guy with this accent that's kind of British and kind of Mexican and kind of Southern, and he wears silk robes and he stares through rakes and says, "It's over."
So good. Yeah, I don't really get a Bray Wyatt vibe from Broken Matt Hardy either. They're not really similar characters.
No, I do think that Bray Wyatt is one of the. I don't know if he's the most creative thing wrestling has seen in the 21st century, but he's definitely unique in the WWE cosmos. And if I were him, I would definitely be frustrated that there hasn't been more to capitalize on that. Because this and again, who knows? But the stories are that backstage, Vince just doesn't get Bray Wyatt's character, which makes sense. I mean, Vince is the guy who still thinks like we need a male model. Like, I mean, that's Vince. But
We need a dance instructor.
yeah, get a dance instructor and a male model, and they'll be handsome together. Yeah, but like he just doesn't get Bray Wyatt. So I get Bray Wyatt's frustration when people are like going crazy for the Final Deletion, and he's like, "Hey, I've been a weird person for a long time." But no, I mean the Final Deletion was just so fully realized, and so they must have had total creative control. That must have just been the Hardys like, "This is what we want to do," and TNA saying yes.
Yeah, I think they just let them run with it, and it turned out awesome.
You know who I'm genuinely curious? This is the first time I've ever said this in my life. I'm genuinely curious to know what Vince Russo thinks of the Final Deletion.
Check his Twitter.
Because it seems like he'd like, yeah, you probably have to like pay for like the premium subscriber thing to his blog or whatever. But it seems like he would like it, but you never know. I mean, like he just kind of shits on everything in wrestling these days.
Yeah, I mean, surprised he wasn't on Twitter taking credit for it.
Yeah. Oh, bro, they learned all this from me, bro, back in the Attitude Era, bro.
I could see that. I could see him saying that. I could see him saying that so much that I'm actually going to look on Twitter see if he did say that.
Yeah, this is just the new blood. This is just the new blood angle, bro, with a different swerve. That's not a good Vince Russo impression. I just don't listen to his podcast enough to develop a good Vince Russo because I can't stand
no,
him.
that's a pretty solid Vince Russo.
You just have to use the word "bro" like a comma, and then you're halfway there. All right, so we'll leave the TNA Doomsday Clock alone, both because the Final Deletion was so good, but also because the sale of the company could actually really be good for it. Who knows? It's hard to think of a worse buyer right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, who else? Who could make TNA worse?
I mean, Vince Russo, but he doesn't have any money. So, like, other than that,
Yeah. So perfect. No one could make it worse.
um, all right. So, turning from the world of TNA, the wonderful world of the Final Deletion.
Oh, there is
By,
a thing about Final Deletion on Vince Russo's Twitter.
what
He
does it
says
say?
today the creator of the Final Deletion, Jeremy Borash, talks about his masterpiece on Podcast One.
Wait, Jeremy give me a fucking break. Jeremy Borash is not the mastermind behind the Final Delete. This could have only sprung from the fevered imaginations of the Hardy Boys.
I agree.
By the way, I'm buying a Final Delete. I'm buying a Dilapidated Boat T-shirt.
Is there one?
Yeah, Matt Hardy just tweeted out today. There's a design. It says the Dilapidated Boat firework protection. I mean, it's just because I'm gonna wear that and no one is gonna know what it refers. Like they're gonna look at it and they're gonna think, what?
Yes.
Like they might think the Dilapidated Boat, that could be the name of like a restaurant or something, or like a bar, but then they're gonna see firework protection and think, what the hell?
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's a perfect wrestling shirt for you because I know you like those wrestling shirts that people will wear and you have no idea what it is.
Yes, exactly. It's gray and blue. It's understated design. It's not like all those horrible wrestling. I like wrestling shirts that don't look like wrestling shirts. That I can wear in mixed company.
Well, let's be honest, Tom. You can't wear anything in mixed company. Everyone knows you're a creepy wrestling fan.
A creepy wrestling fan. It's true. Speaking of creepy wrestling fans, I mentioned this at the top of the podcast, but next week we're gonna be live in a Google Hangout. We're gonna get all that set up before then, obviously, because
we're totally gonna try to get it set up before then.
We're gonna make an effort to get it all set up. But next week, WWE is having their SmackDown draft. It's their first live SmackDown, and we'll be live commenting on it for our 50th podcast. It's very exciting. 50. We've been on the air for slightly more than 50. We've been doing this for slightly more than 50 weeks because there have been weeks that we missed. But 50 is, why not? Big round number.
It's the 50th podcast. It's just, it's number 50.
It's number 50.
There's nothing special about the number 50. It's just a round number that people tend to think of as special for some reason. So we're gonna hop on it.
If this were if this were a comic book series in the early 90s, this would be like a embossed foil stamped die cut cover, that kind of thing.
Yes, it would be in a bag with holograms.
It would be, and there'd be a trading card. There'd be a Crime Time. No, an SJW's trading card.
SJW's
in the Mylar bag. All right, so definitely tune in for that. That's gonna be fun because we need you to tune in to that. I mean, Joe and I are perfectly content to talk to ourselves, but it'll probably be more fun if other people are involved and asking questions and helping us make wisecracks.
Yeah, if you are, if you're subscribed to this YouTube channel where you're listening to this, you'll get a notification sometime during the week of the actual time that we'll start. It'll probably be, I don't know. What is the time there that we should start, Tom?
We should probably start
obviously a little earlier than the start.
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes before, or something like 7:45 or something.
Okay, so
Eastern.
Imagine somewhere around 7:45 on Tuesday will be the live 50th episode, and it will go until Tom has to go to sleep.
Well, I mean, until the show goes off the air, I guess, and then we can take a few questions or talk a little more, and then and then I gotta go to sleep. I have to, because it's the morning or late morning in Kawasaki City, but here in Connecticut, it'll be.
Yeah, for Tom is a reasonable adult with an adult job.
Well, adult-ish. I mean, I work at a university, so it's as adult as it gets,
So yeah, there'll be a little bit of time. So come in, pepper Tom with questions.
Yeah, fire away. Ask me anything. Ask me anything about the Final Deletion. Ask me what my favorite line is. I'll actually, you know what? I'm just gonna tell you. It's the xylophone.
The xylophone.
It's an extraordinary xylophone.
That's right at the beginning too.
It is. Yeah. Senor Benjamin.
It's amazing because the way he says it is great, but he holds it up like he's in a commercial or something. It's
He does. And then he's on Twitter. He's posted pictures of his kid actually playing with the xylophone.
Amazing.
So much fun. I'd also get a Senor Benjamin. Oh, actually, that might, you don't want people to think you're making fun of Latinos, so I was going to be careful with that. I'm going to stick with the dilapidated boat for now. It's a dilapidated boat. Somebody on Twitter posted like a Google search graph of the searches for the term dilapidated boat, and there's like nothing, and then like huge spike.
Amazing.
Amazing. All right, so that's next week, our big 50th live podcast special. The only other thing we have is this weekend. It's a big weekend O wrestling for me. Here in the United States, I'm going to see Wrestle Jam on Saturday. Little Wrestle Jam. That's a big Chikara heavy event, but there's also some non-Chikara people there. That's gonna be fun. AR Fox is gonna be there. I haven't actually seen him in a while.
Totally unrelated to that, but like every time you say Wrestling Jam, it's the Wrestling Jam is actually like part of the lyrics of the theme song to Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And every time you say it, I think like I just start singing the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling song in my head, and I can't stop myself. So every time you say Wrestling Jam, just know that I'm thinking of the Gorgeous
Gorgeous
Ladies
Ladies of Wrestling.
There
will be some gorgeous ladies wrestling at this, but it's more it's not a Glow event.
So slam bam, it's a Wrestling Jam. Come on, ladies, give us a hand. That's
wow. Your memory is excellent when it comes to the Glow theme song.
Yeah, well, I have the superpower where I can learn the lyrics to songs. I know the lyrics to thousands of songs for no apparent reason.
This is 100% true. He would in high school, he would listen to a record once and would know all the lyrics to every song. It's astonishing.
So I know the lyrics to, I don't even know how many thousands of songs, but I cannot listen to them for 2 decades and then 2 decades later put that song in and still know all the lyrics. I don't know how I do that. It's like some kind of weird memory thing, but I can totally do that. So people are always amazed that I know the lyrics to every song that comes on the radio or whatever, if we're listening to songs that I've heard before.
It's amazing. And it includes the Glow theme song.
Includes the Glow theme song, and I've heard that more than once, so I definitely know that. So I can often, when people say things, sometimes in conversation, I'll be able to, and it matches lyrics to a song, I can probably start singing the songs if I know the song, obviously. But it's not a very handy superpower, really.
No, but still, it's yours. That's the important part.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Saturday. That's Wrestle Jam. That's sort of the aperitif for the weekend, though, because Sunday, Mark and I are going to beautiful Melrose, Massachusetts. I should say I was up right around Melrose last weekend, and I got a flat tire on 95 North, which is kind of terrifying. I hope that doesn't happen again, but the Boston area is just terrible. Anyway, enough about that. So we're going to Melrose, Massachusetts. It's a doubleheader. It's Beyond Wrestling and Evolve 65. This is the first time I'll see Evolve in person. And there's some cruiserweight spotlight match, whatever, WWE Cruiserweight Championship spotlight matches. I don't know. But both Beyond Wrestling and Evolve will be live on iPay-per-view. This will be the first Beyond Wrestling show ever broadcast on iPay-per-view. So if you're sitting around Sunday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, and you're like, what am I going to do with myself? You just go over to WWNlive.com. You buy yourself the iPay-per-view, and you can see one half of the world's most important Trans-Pacific Wrestling podcast. I'll be standing at ringside.
Yeah,
not just
he
me.
said standing. Keep that in mind.
Standing.
It's Beyond Wrestling.
It's Beyond Wrestling. There are no seats. So, and it won't just be me standing at ringside. That'll be weird. That'll be a bunch of fans. But for Evolve, I'll also be there, but I have to sit because they make you sit at Evolve.
Oh, Evolve. They're too hoity-toity for too standing. Hoity-toity.
I'm actually gonna look at that card up real quick, see if it whets your appetite any.
This isn't the one with Liger, is it?
No, that's in August.
Oh.
That's Northeast Wrestling. This is, let's see, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jonathan Gresham. It's a rematch. That should be very good. A lot of mat grappling, a lot of technical grappling. Tommaso Ciampa versus Matthew Riddle. These two guys had an incredible match at Beyond 2 months ago. Kimber Lee versus JT Dunn. This will be very interesting because these two are an IRL couple. So, a little intrigue there. Chris Dickinson versus Pinky Sanchez. This is Pinky Sanchez. He's like a flyweight who used to be in Team Pazuzu, and then he quit, and now he's trying to get his spot back, and he has to beat the leader of Team Pazuzu, Chris Dickinson, who is a giant, terrifying man. All logic says Chris Dickinson is just going to kill Pinky Sanchez, but you never know. There's a 6-man tag team match. The Hit Squad and Brian Fury against the other 3 guys in Team Pazuzu, EYFBO and Jaka, and then Lufisto versus Veda Scott, which should be a pretty good match. So, that's gonna be good. And then Evolve is like Marty Scurll's gonna be there. Timothy Thatcher, Drew Galloway versus Johnny Gargano. It's just, folks, it's going to be good stuff. Yeah, Timothy Thatcher versus TJ Perkins, Drew Galloway versus Johnny Gargano, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tony Nese, Tommaso Ciampa versus Cedric Alexander, Marty Scurll versus Matt Riddle. Good stuff. A lot of guys wrestling 2 matches that day that they're going to be very tired.
It's going to be a lot of wrestling.
Yes, it's a lot. I took Monday off from work because I know I'm gonna be really tired because it's like a 2-hour drive from my house, and that'll be close to 8 hours of wrestling.
It's a lot of wrestling.
It's a lot, but I do it for you, the fans, and also because I don't have anything else in my life.
Hey, you got a cat?
I do have a cat. That's true. He's sleeping peacefully right now.
It's a rare state for your cat.
It is a rare state, yeah.
He's usually looking for devious ways to attack your feet.
Yeah, he's a very hyper little guy. So that's it. If you want more hot wrestling content, you can find us on closetofanxiety.tumblr.com, hockeyjoe.tumblr.com, on Twitter. I've started to push back from the election a lot on Twitter. So there's more wrestling. I'm at TJ Breen, and Joe is at XCornMuffinX. That's about it. So you'll hear from us before next week for our live 50th podcast special. But if you just make a mental note, 15 minutes before SmackDown starts, you're going to want to come and find us and hang out and talk about SmackDown.
Yeah, if anything, if you're a lonely dude who watches SmackDown by yourself, which is probably describes all of you, you can finally have friends to watch.
It describes us.
It describes
folks.
us. We're not. Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah. Don't think we haven't included ourselves in that. All of you. Feel free to come in and pretend like we're all friends, and talk along with us. Chat. Give us your hot takes on who is being drafted and who hasn't shown up and why Hulk Hogan isn't there yet. And just go nuts. That's the plan. And if you don't care about the wrestling, but you still want to come in and pepper Tom with questions about his private life, feel free to do that.
Yeah. And brace yourself. We're going to be quoting the Final Deletion a lot.
There's going to be a lot of Final Deletion talk. So I don't know how much better we could hype it. It's going to be perfect.
It's going to be fun, folks. And thank you for tuning in for 49 episodes and listening and talking on YouTube and hitting us up on Twitter and doing all the other stuff that you've done to let us know you're out there and that we're not so irritating that you can't stand the sound of our voices.
Yeah, I guess that's the number one thing. As long as we're not so irritating that you can't stand the sound of our voices, we're probably doing okay.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to get all mushy or anything, but we do appreciate you guys listening and commenting and doing everything else. You're a good bunch of people. Damn it. I don't care what the public says.
I don't care what those police officers say. Your psychiatrist has warned us
That
against that
judge,
judge. Of course, that judge.
the United Nations, I don't care about any of it. You guys are okay with me.
Yeah. So thumbs up to you guys. So with that being said, we'll be back next week live.
Live. If it goes well, maybe we'll do another live thing. Who knows? If it goes poorly, maybe we'll do another live. You never know if we have fun. That's if it's just the two of us talking to each other, that's all that matters. That we enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. Even if it ends up being just the two of us, though I doubt it. I'm assuming that because it'll be the live thing, that a bunch of people who don't normally listen to the podcast will come in, if only because I have over 3,000 people subscribed to my channel,
It's
and
true.
I'm sure, looking at the views of the wrestling podcast, almost nobody out of those 3,000 people watch it, but
That's
they
true.
might come into the live podcast by accident or by chance that they just want to ask questions about non-wrestling related stuff. And if my recent Q&A on my channel has offered me anything, it's that people like to ask me lots of random questions. So if you come to the live episode, you at least have the chance to ask Tom a similar stream of random questions. So it's perfect.
Or Joe. Yeah, I mean, you can just ask us basically if you have no interest in SmackDown and you just want to pepper Joe with questions about games or Japan or something, then feel free to do that.
Yeah, although it'll be my answers will always be interrupted by screaming about SmackDown results, or well, I guess draft results, because it's not just SmackDown.
Yeah, we'll just be bitter comments that our favorites aren't going to the right
I
brand.
wonder if the episode will actually have matches. Makes me wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
Because I mean, there's a lot of dudes that have to be drafted, but I mean, how long will that take? I mean, it's only a 2-hour show. You've got 80 dudes to draft, plus surprises.
Exactly. There's going to be some surprises.
I mean, there's definitely going to be surprises. There's going to be people coming back that you don't expect, like probably Tajiri, and you know,
Probably some NXT people coming up.
and also we're on the edge of our seats to see where Kane and the Big Show end up.
That's all we care about.
Yeah,
We're going to turn it off after that. We're like, okay, that's all I need.
first draft, Kane and the Big Show. uh, I, I I hope they go to SmackDown because that's the show I'll watch less.
Yeah. My fear is that they try to do something they I don't know, that they do something that makes SmackDown unmissable. Like all the tag teams go to SmackDown or something, and they try to make that the up and coming show, or then you're like, well, I gotta watch SmackDown.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what they're gonna do because they want people to watch SmackDown.
One would hope.
There's probably gonna be something like that. Now I'm gonna have to watch SmackDown.
I mean, I guess that would be good. Obviously, it'd be good for the brand.
Yeah, it's good for SmackDown. It's good for WWE. But man, it's even more wrestling I gotta watch. How am I gonna watch repeats of the final deletion if I have to watch SmackDown?
I've had bad couple weeks at work, and ever since the Final Deletion aired, I just if I get a free moment on my lunch hour, I'm having a bad day, boom, put on the headphones, watch the Final Deletion, everything's better.
It's so good. I've watched it a bunch of times since then too. Posted it on Facebook. It's so good. Everybody should watch the Final Deletion. That, as we mentioned, you can watch it for free if you have no way to watch TNA, or you don't have cable, or you don't feel like searching for anything. Just watch it on YouTube. It's there, legit there, by TNA themselves. So, I guess that's the end of the episode. But we'll leave you with demanding that you go watch the Final Deletion if you haven't watched it yet. That's it. Get on it.
That's it. Do it.
We'll see you guys live next week.